This weekend, we're playing Game Boy on our Switch, continuing our hunt, and patrolling the Crimson Skies. I'm Ryan,
I'm Andy.
and this is Weekend Rental, episode 145. Well, we might as well address probably the biggest gaming news since we last recorded, I guess, and that's, of course, going to be the Nintendo Direct. Did you take it in?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like really pleasantly surprised with it. I guess I've conditioned myself to be just disappointed. So the fact that it hit on like a lot of things that I was excited about was really good. And then I kind of went to Twitter with that. And then Cestus, of course, friend of the podcast, was like, yeah, it was just a bunch of rehash stuff. And I was like, yeah. But God damn it, I'm still excited. Like, I like them force feeding me the same games over and over again. But he is correct. When I remove myself,
I mean, that's the slogan
hype,
of Nintendo.
Yeah, when I remove myself from it and really think about it, that is accurate. It was just more rehash stuff. It's just different for me, I guess, when it's rehash stuff that I'm like really excited about. So
there was never a Pikmin dog. That's brand new.
He's not Poochie at all. It's a totally different thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how we want to go through it, I guess. Was Pikmin 4 the opener, I think? No,
yeah.
It was wasn't it an expansion for Xenoblade maybe they opened with? Can't remember. Which we can skip because I don't think either of us care about Xenoblade. Nope. There's a season, and then they went into the Pikmin 4 pretty early on if that wasn't the first thing. And yeah, it looks like Pikmin. I'm excited. I mean, I like those games. They're fun. They're never like, I mean, they're a C tier game, right? They've kind of taken the place of Metroid as far as like how people look at the Nintendo franchise.
My son looked at that and he's like, "Oh, that game's kind of like Tinykin." I'm like, "Yep."
Yep, and they added a dog to ride instead of a bar of soap, so it is just like Tinykin. Yeah. I mean, what? They showed the Pooch, which was a new thing. They hinted at maybe there's going to be a nighttime mode with that little last clip like that animal going zombie. Maybe they'll give you an option to like stay on planet at night. Who knows? And I think there was like one or two new types of Pokemon or Pikmin Pokemon. Like there was an ice one for sure, which I know I hadn't seen. Yeah, I mean, it seemed like more Pikmin with the dog maybe be the quality of life improvement, right?
Yeah, pretty iterative. I mean, didn't look like a giant leap in gameplay.
But that series has always been graphically strong, but like in its own way, right? Like it's so contained that it's always been like pseudo realism.
Yeah,
there's no need for them to go further, otherwise it breaks kind of, I think, the vibe they're going for. I don't know.
It's a long time ago, I always thought that, you know, since Minecraft and all the survival games that have happened since, I thought Pikmin was probably primed to be Nintendo's choice to jump into that genre.
Go open world, go building.
Yeah.
It's actually not a bad suggestion.
This doesn't seem like that at all.
Pikmin World. More. What if they did that next generation? A Pikmin World where you had resources. It was ongoing. That's a genius idea, actually. I'd never really considered that, but that's the right IP.
Yep.
If they're gonna do one of those.
I don't think they have yet, right? Like Animal Crossing kind of had crafting, but not.
Right. I wonder if Nintendo wouldn't though, because they're just too afraid to go like full 3D build engine because they're worried people put like giant penises and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I could see them, but at the same time, let people do, like, it doesn't have to be online.
Right.
Let people do it, you know?
Yeah.
That's a great idea. I'd love a survival game in the world of Pikmin, actually. Because it's already the gameplay. Night comes around, everything gets angrier. Build a base.
Yep.
Build an army.
Yep. Have your guys
go to the Nether.
Yep.
This is great. I love this.
Yeah, the Pikmin are the tools, you know, of getting all the stuff. So
yeah. I kind of want this game now, actually, more than I want Pikmin 4. What did they say the release date? This is coming ahead of They've really
It's like
that's my main
summer,
takeaway
right?
is like they've really jammed stuff into the first half of this year, and I don't think Nintendo has anything after this. So
Which is weird.
I know they need to announce a new console, but yeah, maybe you're right. July does that sound right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Um. So yeah, I think that didn't blow anybody away. They talked about more Mario Kart 8 DLC. We're getting Birdo finally.
Yoshi's
Who?
Island. They must watch our
Yeah.
last episode. And
Right.
they
Yeah, they're like
hated.
it's salt in the wound.
Yep, they're like the gamers are really unhappy with Yoshi, so we better
Better do that.
correct that.
Yeah, I kind of forget that they're still building this game. But then it's also not surprising when I saw the sales numbers were like lifetime 58 million. Like that's ridiculous. I mean, that is absolutely insane. And it's a great game. It's to the point now though where they've put so much content into it that I don't know that you can make an argument for what is the greatest Mario Kart game anymore. Because there's just too much here to argue. There's just too much here to like. As much as I love Double Dash isn't getting any bigger.
No.
You know what I mean?
Nope. They just need to add the Double Dash mechanic in. That would be cool.
Correct. That should be a mode. That would be really fun, actually.
Samba de Amigo.
Oh my god, yes! I saw that leak ahead of it, and I was like, no way, because I'm a huge Samba fan. And I was.
Have they made one since the original?
They did. They made one for the Wii, and it was an utter controlled bullshit nightmare because the sensitivity and the nunchuck sucked.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw this, I was like, sign me up. Let me 3D print some maracas and glue them on the end of my nunchuck or my Joy-Con. Yeah, I did not see this coming. I still argue that given the success of Beat Saber, I don't know why Sega has not done a virtual reality Samba de Amigo. To me, that seems perfect.
Oh yeah.
But this might be as close as we get, and I'm really looking forward to it. Those are dumb fun games.
Yep.
But it's all going to come down to the controls, right? Like, is it going to? Because it's going to be motion control. Is it going to be worth a damn? I mean, the Joy-Con are pretty spot on compared to
it's got to have it's got to be right on for rhythm games, right?
Right. But there's a lot of variables, right? TVs, resolutions could get not great, but I suppose maybe we can all hope that at least it would be optimized timing wise to your Switch, right? So if you just put your little kickstand or your big kickstand, depending on if you have an OLED, that should be in time at the very least on dock.
Right.
So how about you? Are you a Samba guy or did you never care?
I never really got into it. No.
Okay. I got hardcore into it on the Dreamcast.
Like, did you actually had the Sambas or just
no? It was like I came into it so late, even at that point, that the maracas and stuff, like at least like the official ones, were still insanely expensive. Like they were like over $100, and there was like a weird period of time after the Dreamcast kind of fell for a bit where all that stuff dropped, and I probably should have bought them then, but I didn't. And then now they're like hundreds again. But no, I used to just play with the controller. But even then, just like getting into it with the controller and playing multiplayer sessions next to somebody, it's a good game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was really surprised that they thought that was gone.
Yeah, I saw maybe all those initiatives and all that bullshit that Sega was putting out a couple years ago about like dusting off IPs is true. Maybe they're willing to give it a shot. So
stay tuned for Billy Hatcher too.
Dude, that if anything needs a port to the Switch to sell 10 million copies for no good reason at all, it's Billy Hatcher, right?
Yeah.
Like why haven't they? That's printing money, I guarantee it.
Yeah. Oh, what else? Oh, that Castlevania Dead Cells thing looks cool, but I don't know if I could get back into Dead Cells.
Right. Plus I got to see what Philip Mewson thinks of it. So he's still the de facto voice of Dead Cells for me. So but yeah, what a weird announcement 3 years into a game that's been out.
Yeah.
It's cool.
It's a really good game, but I just don't think I could that's such a like Twitch controls that once you fall out of that, I don't know if I could go back to it.
Well, it's a skin, right? Too. I can't imagine it's fundamentally changing anything.
Yeah.
Like, are you gonna like it better because it's vampires? Maybe.
Yeah. The Splatoon 3 thing looked like the dumbest thing I've ever seen. You're
Why do you
paying
want to
an
go back to the
expansion
old
for a
lobby?
hub.
Right. Well, and it seemed like they almost hinted too at a potential single player component, maybe a little bit at the end, but yeah.
Yeah.
A seasonal expansion that you pay for to just return to the lobby of the old game. Come on. What are we doing here?
That's about as rehashed as you can get.
Right.
That Mickey Mouse game looks awesome.
Refresh my memory.
It's like the old style. Well, it's the new Mickey Mouse cartoon style, but
Okay.
they kind of look like an older version. It's a 4-player Mickey Mouse, Minnie, Donald, and
Okay.
Goofy.
That was in this
Kind of like
direct. I
a
don't recall seeing an update.
yeah, that's like a Rayman Legends looking thing, kind of.
Okay.
I'm pretty excited about that.
What's the one with the fox and the deer? Like I like very much need to play that.
Fox and the Deer.
It's like all white. It's in black and white.
Oh yeah, I did see something about that. That
What
looked
is that
pretty
called?
cool.
Looks like right up my alley.
A Blanc or something.
Yes. That sounds right.
Yeah.
That game for an indie game looks incredible. I'm all about that.
Yep. Advance Wars is finally coming out in April.
Did you know that if you pre-ordered that and then didn't let your Switch connect to the internet, it was available on the original launch date? Some guy got it. That's the only reason I know about it. Is like somebody actually did that, never updated it. The game was unlocked.
Wow.
Yeah. So you could have been playing it for a year and a half now.
Yep.
I don't know if that's going to set the world on fire. I think there was a lot more hype when it was early announced, and then there's just been so much stuff that's come out since, and then you're going to pit it up against a well, we'll get to that, a remaster of another big franchise plus the sequel to Zelda.
Oh yeah, you're talking about the remaster of Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, right?
Yeah, which sadly I was all hyped for because I was thinking in my head I heard Dreamland and I was just thinking, oh, they're updating the Game Boy one and fleshing it out, and then I remembered, no, this is the one that was on the Wii. It was like the dying Kirby on the Wii that was going way up in value. So I hope this doesn't affect that selfishly. But yeah, the art style, when I look at that game to the new art style, like, wow, what liberties, you know what I mean? They really kind of like squished it down to like a 2D almost perspective instead of the 3D that they pushed for.
Yeah. It's really weird because it's like they cell shaded it so much that I feel like they didn't upres it. They were just covering up the jaggies of the the Wii just by a hard black line around everything.
Yeah, and then it looks like there's a whole new like campaign in there, which is good. I just kind of question what they're doing with Kirby at this point because, like, to me, they released the definitive generational Kirby just last year with Forgotten Lands or whatever, and then Star Allies came out early on and was kind of like, blah.
Yeah.
So like, why throw another Kirby at the like again? Maybe it's to fit their thing. Like, this is the last year of first party titles for the platform, so Kirby's got to be in the mix. But I mean, I say that knowing that I'm dismissing it, but I'm also buying it. So keep that in mind.
Yep.
I'll be picking that up day and date.
Let's see. Let's talk about the star of the show, the Metroid Prime remaster.
Available today, digitally. Weird choice from Nintendo.
Yeah, and it seems like they're doing their dumb shit on limiting the amount of physical stuff.
No, really, are they?
It seems like it's selling
Do I need
out
to pre-order
all
this?
the time.
Oh God, I was just gonna go buy it. I thought it'd be on the shelf.
Yeah.
You telling me that might not be possible?
I would imagine it would, but
I'm gonna wing it. I'm gonna take a chance. I'm gonna be pissed if I can't get my hands on it. When they showed this, I thought they were gonna be showing like the trilogy that seems to have been like available in some format for some time now, but the fact that they remastered it is interesting to me More interesting is the price point, because they've kind of set the standard of
Mhm.
any remaster report gets the full price treatment. So when they actually go out of their way to like scrub up a game significantly, they're like, no, it's just 40. Like, but Donkey
Yeah.
Kong Tropical Freeze and I mean, what's going on
Yeah,
here?
the
And
straight up ports of nothing
yeah,
were 60.
and
Yeah.
the Kirby game we're talking about, like
Yeah.
they did a bunch of work on that too, but they're still charging full price instead of 40. I am genuinely excited because I want my son to play this, and I want him to play it in the best possible format. And I think the new controls and the visual update will do it. But I think this game's gonna blow him away because it was such a good game. Like that generation, like everybody forgets. Like it all went to Halo when it came to first person stuff. But and nobody, let's be honest, like put your realistic goggles on. Nobody bought the GameCube. Nobody was supporting that
Mhm.
stuff. So most people didn't get the like shock and awe that was Metroid Prime.
Well, and it's not exactly the same type of first person shooter either,
Sure,
you
but
know?
like the intuitiveness and the way the controls like bring you into the game and the character on something that had like one analog stick and a nub.
Yep.
It was incredible back then. I can't wait to experience it with like proper controls now.
Yep.
But you're right. It is not it's not the Halo killer. It is more of a adventure platformer in parts, but it's still like when you're in that first person mode is just like you are like absorbed into that world and it's great.
Yep.
I'm
Yeah,
really
I don't think
excited.
I didn't really ever get too far in the original one, so
Really? Yeah, I
yeah.
never beat it. Got close. I wasn't interested in Echoes by the time that came out. Like I was past wanting to do another one of those just because they're so like story heavy, right? It's like, and then by the time the third one came around, I kind of waited until I got it on the trilogy and I started it. And I liked what they did with the third one, right? Because it was like very much like we're making a Halo, like more than any of the other ones. But I just haven't been able to push myself through it. So
Yeah.
I think this is the one to shine the light on, though, of the trilogy. So hopefully we get access to the other two at some point. But the fact that they've like doctored this thing up is pretty awesome.
And then Other M, right?
I'm still another M defender. I don't care what people say. It's still a cool game. Still like separate yourself from the fact that it's a Metroid game because it's still kind of neat. Like
Just skip the cutscenes, basically.
yeah, don't worry about the logic that you have everything at your disposal, but some dipshit says you can't use it. Like just that doesn't matter. Like it doesn't. It's cool. Still like
Yeah. Yeah, boy, Metroid is really
it's an A tier.
popped off.
It's an A tier at this point. It
Yep.
went from solid C list to A tier in the matter of a year and a half.
Yep.
It's nuts. I can't believe Dread sold the way it did. I can't believe I haven't played it
uh, Dread's great.
One day I'll play it and concur
Yep.
with you.
Yep. What else? I mean they added Game Boy games.
Yes. This was like the little nugget on top that got me like just giddy.
Yep.
Especially when they said the Game Boy games were just included with normal online, but then a little sprinkle on top if you're the Family Pass person, you got Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
Why they couldn't have been together, I guess
Yeah.
price points, but fucking sweet. Plus they're very clearly teasing Oracle of Ages and Seasons together. Which will be coming, not available, but what
Yeah,
do you
there's
have
some-
like the list of what was available for each on launch day?
So
this was another available now, of course, everybody.
Yep. The Game Boy was Tetris,
Killer.
Mario Land 2. I don't know if they'd ever put out Mario Land 1 again.
It's a better game, but I get why people gravitate towards 2.
It is good. I just think it's too weird that they won't put it out anymore.
Mario Land 2 is infinitely weirder. Like you're insane, like evil stepbrothers locked in the castle. There's like radishes and like spooky ghost towns, and you're inside
There's some
whale
weird levels
boogers.
in there.
And,
Yeah.
there's some fucked up stuff.
Isn't there like a whole world that's basically yourself?
Yeah, you're like
Yeah.
a wooden Clockwork Mario, and yeah, I don't know.
Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening DX.
Which is cool because we
Yep.
just people get to go back and experience the D make now, essentially. Well, D
the,
the original, yeah,
the updated
the
demake.
updated original, yes.
Game and Watch Gallery 3, which was a weird one, but
Why do that? Fuck that. Those were stupid when they released them back in the day. Don't port them. Bullshit.
yeah, they're
History wise, I get it. Fun, get the fuck out of here. You're not having fun with that. I don't care who you
yeah.
are.
Even like when they remade them to the modern things, they're not that fun.
No,
You know. Gargoyle's Quest, good
cool
pick.
one. Yep.
Alone in the Dark, that was a weird one.
Didn't even know that existed. Yeah, so that's
No.
the neat thing is like these Game Boy Color games that like I think most people slept on the Game Boy Color, right?
Yeah.
The Game Boy was definitely not cool. Like by then, I didn't hear kids clamoring for it. I think people our
They were
age
playing
were like,
Pokemon, but that's
this
about
is the
it.
thing. Yeah, they're like people our age are like, well, this is the thing I played when I was 5. Why am I going to play this when I'm 17? You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, they that one's a weird one. I wonder if it's like one of those cult ones because obviously Gargoyle's Quest is one of those that's
I mean,
kind of a cult one.
I'm really hoping for Metal Gear now, to be honest.
Oh, that would be a good one.
That would be a
I've
fun
never
one.
played that one. Metroid 2, that's a good get.
Good. Frustrating, but good.
Yeah. Wario Land 3, pretty good.
Which is, yeah.
Which I don't know why I never put that together.
What's that?
That there's no Wario Land 1 and 2.
Well, there's Wario Land Super Mario World 3. But is there no 2? Did it go just to 3?
Well, isn't it just Wario? I think isn't Wario Land 3 Super Mario Land 3?
No.
It's not?
No, there's Wario Land on the straight Game Boy, Wario Land Super Mario Land 3. So this is like the Game Boy Color one, but there was like a straight Game Boy one that was still title in the series.
Oh yeah, there is a Wario 2.
Yeah.
Because that's a black cart, so it works on both. I remember that now.
It's weird how they did that, like whole like it's part of the series and now it's its own thing.
Yeah. And Kirby's Dream Land, which
is not getting remade for the Switch.
No.
That's a fun 20-minute, man. You just sit down, like 20 minutes, you're done, gone.
Yeah. Except my kids put it on and then they're just all screaming at each other that they're cheating just because they're flying over everything, you know?
No, I'll tell you hey, he doesn't have his copy abilities. You got to give Kirby something.
Yeah.
Frozen on my screen. Hopefully you're coming back.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. You're just not moving.
Oh.
Let's make it for the video cut. There we go.
And for Game Boy Advance, we got Mario Advance 4, which I believe has all the e-reader levels too.
So okay, I wanted to touch on that because I heard another podcast talking, and I get it. I get why people are doing that. They're like, why did they bring this to Switch Online when it's already there on the NES? You've already got the All-Stars version for Super Nintendo. And the reason that this is significant is you are correct. If you go to the card level, all like 100 and some e-reader cards, all those levels are there. You don't need the e-reader card. For anyone who doesn't remember, the e-reader was a ill-fated, long-forgotten, dumb shit peripheral for the Game Boy Advance. But essentially...
let you accept credit card payments.
Yeah. That is a weird device. But essentially, what you're getting out of this is a whole new Mario Brothers 3. It's like a whole... It's a whole game's worth of content, which I have been going through and really enjoying. So do that. If you've got access to it, play those. Go down to the card level thing and jump in there. You're gonna have a good time. It's fucking cool. And it's worth noting that those were going to be lost to time because the Virtual Console is gone. So this is the only legit way to play those without the original hardware now. So it's significant.
Collecting cards.
Yeah, it's significant.
Yep. WarioWare. That's a perfect one to have.
Yeah, I've been going back through that too. That was the first one I booted up, I think, actually. Spent an
Yep.
hour with it.
And Kururin.
Spinny stick, right?
Yep.
I
Don't
started
let the
that.
hit the
That
stick.
that gets frustrating fast.
Yeah. Those are hard games.
Yeah. Also
There-
terribly designed transportational vehicles. Just
Yep.
saying right now.
There was an Xbox One game, I think. Forget
Like
what it's
that.
called. Yeah, where you were a taxi
Okay.
and it was an FMV game.
Oh yes.
And you carried people around in your taxi that spun around, and you did that shit too.
Yep. I had
Forget what
never
it was
heard of
called.
these, but I distinctly remember on PlayStation there was a game called Irritating Stick. It
Yep.
was just this game.
Yep. Mario Kart Super Circuit, which isn't the great.
Oh hey, I like that one.
I don't like it, but
what?
no.
No, that's good, man. Plus it's got online play now. 4-player online.
That's cool.
What's not good about it?
I don't know. It's like the weird graphics on it were just a little bit. I think it was like a step. When I first saw it, like it was a step back, which it should be because it's.
But it was a step. Yeah, it was
Super
a step
Nintendo.
towards the version I liked, I guess. So that's maybe
Yeah.
I'm a little biased. I get it. I know it's not well regarded.
The DS one was really good though. Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. That's a great game.
It's a good ad, yeah.
And Minish Cap, which I'm surprised that they got that one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're getting Oracle Ages and Seasons, right?
Yeah, that's Capcom ones too. I guess.
I had my son start that one right away, and then he, I was like, "How's the game, buddy?" Because I think it might have been a night that I think we might have gamed that night or whatever, or not. Yeah, I think it was maybe a Monster Hunter night, or anyway. I come back up. I asked him the next morning because he'd gone to bed, and he's like, "Yeah, so I got like really far at this boss, and then I went to do the screen save thing, and I loaded the first save." And I was just like,
Oh no.
"Oh." He's like, "I didn't know." I'm like, "Yeah, it happens, man."
Yep.
Poor kid.
Yep. And then they teased Metroid Fusion, Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, Fire Emblem, F-Zero game, and Golden Sun.
Yeah. It's gonna be, oh god. Kicking my camera. Those are good additions. To Switch Online. I think it justifies that cost a little more. I was watching because some people were complaining again, because some people still argue that that's an overpriced service. And then I was on Twitter, and Chris from Geekade, Stone Age Gamer podcast, he's like, "I did the math. Here's how much these would have all cost. Here's how much you'd pay if you bought everything Virtual Console," and it came out to like fucking $1,100. And I was like, "Yeah, he's right." He like broke it down like.
And what if you bought the
price.
cartridges? It's even more.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, you can't really argue that you're not. He's like, it would take you 25 years of being subscribed to get to the cost of buying these virtually. So
yeah,
I don't know. He's got a point. Plus, they have online play, save states. I think it's worth noting that the emulators are very cool for Game Boy. To where like it's got the different interpretations
colors,
of the graphics. Yeah. So you got like the standard green. You've got the pocket, which is such a weird way that I'm surprised they did that. It's cool. And then it's got the color option too, so you can play the games in whatever skin you'd like, essentially. But the fact that they would do the extra nod to the pocket was neat. I guess it's for people who are opposed to like pea green, which I understand.
Yep.
So,
where is Donkey Kong 94? More people need to know that game.
That should have been included 100%. Instead of that weird stick game. Fuck that thing.
I'm going to talk about a couple Game Boy Advance games that I know will not be on the service anytime soon.
And then I guess the biggest news, of course, was the last chunk of this direct, right? Which was
a Zelda trailer again.
Yeah. So they put Banjo-Kazooie in, it appears, nuts and bolts. There's gonna be crafting to some level, which
it sure seems that way, doesn't it?
I don't know that I don't know that I like that. It might be fine. Maybe that engine wasn't that strong to begin with, so I'm curious as to how that could, what people are going to do with that to like fucking destroy that game with the frame rate.
Yeah.
That's my main concern with it, but I trust Nintendo. I liked the giant box guy that like wants to beat the shit out of you. He looks like he fell straight out of Gunstar Heroes. That was cool. I like the emphasis on the verticality and the fact that they showed more of like the base world. So it seems like you're getting double the areas to explore. I'm a little nervous about that 2-second clip where after the princess saying that she doesn't believe he's strong enough, she asks to borrow Link's powers.
Yeah, there's going to be a switch of some sort.
I know. I'm worried that we're getting Majora's Masked here and it's just going to be like a completely different game, and I'm a little afraid.
They've had her front and center since the very first trailer too, so you know that she's going to be a big part of it compared to the last one.
Yeah, if that doesn't fundamentally change the key components of being able to explore and that, I guess, but I don't know what that means, and I worry for that. But it looked fucking cool. I mean,
what if it's co-op? What if it's co-op?
You don't know. Don't tease a co-op Zelda. That can't be a thing. Would run at like 10 frames per second on the Switch. That would be amazing. Could you imagine?
That'd be cool.
That ain't gonna happen though.
No, you'd have to design all the levels like that too. You know, all the dungeons as co-op, and
now you're gonna end up playing as Sheik the whole time, I think, and then Sheik will rip off his mask, and it'll have been that guy from Metal Gear Solid 2 who wasn't Snake the whole time. But they hit on the release date again. They said, hey, guess what? You know how people talking about $70 games? We are too. We're not. Why? It's not 4K. It doesn't run locked at 60 frames per second, but this needs to be a $70 game for some reason.
$70. What, are you not going to buy it?
Yes, exactly. I can't complain. You know, when you look at, God, what are the first Zelda? The first Zelda on the SNES, well, not the first one, but the Super Nintendo one had to have cost, adjusted with inflation, $70. The one for, I swear, didn't the Nintendo 64 one cost like $80? I swear they didn't retail at like straight $60. That I seem to remember that being more expensive. So $70, whatever. I think they eased the blow a little bit by offering people those voucher passes like a week ahead of time going into this. So if you want to buy it digitally, you're gonna get Breath of the Wild 2 for $60, I guess. But.
Yep.
And then the collector's edition, which seemed a little half baked as far as like the amount of stuff they put into the previous ones. $130 also appears to have maybe gone online for pre-orders limited and like gone instantly. I've been trying to get a copy because I'm gonna end up buying 2 copies, one for my son and one for me. I was like, well, I might as well get one collectors, but I don't think that's happening.
Yep.
So, and then there's an amiibo with long hair Link, which that was the direct pretty much.
Yeah, it's been better than a lot of them lately.
Yeah, I think my expectations are just to like sheer disappointment. So when this one hit on 6 or 7 things that I genuinely get excited about.
There was only like 2 life sim games in this one, so
we gotta work on that.
Yeah.
Not a ton of RPG stuff.
No.
Which is okay. So yeah, Nintendo Direct. I'm excited. I think this is gonna be the year of the Switch for me. The last one.
Yeah. You know? I think it's the year for the Switch for Nintendo too.
I think I will play some of my favorite games for that system on that system this year. And then that is largely just gonna not be used outside of family game night going forward.
Yeah. I'm really interested to see if they pushed it, like if they just kind of let it chunk up a little bit, or if they scaled it to actually run perfect on a Switch. This next Zelda game, because
I'm very worried about performance, to be quite honest. Like after seeing those trailers and again the build thing, and I think
the
it's gonna
first
be
one
rough.
wasn't too hot on Wii U either, you know.
Well, and I played through
Was
it
it
on Wii U, and
maybe
I
it
would
was the
say,
Switch that was rough?
yeah, I
I
would
don't.
say,
One of them
well,
wasn't
people
great.
complained. Yeah, people complained about the Wii U. I think it ran better than people give it credit for, but yeah, there was definitely chunkiness. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. They have to start talking hardware soon. Like if they don't put, I mean, they're probably not going to put a new console next year, but they probably should. Like that's where they're at, 100%. Especially with the Steam Deck, like really eating into some of that market for like the geekier people who like to have a handheld. I don't think those people are coming back. You know what I mean?
Guess
Like I was
what? They're
talking
playing
to,
Switch games on the. On that
well,
Steam
yeah,
Deck.
well, that's what I was talking to Danton, and he's like, yeah, he's like, I got like, I hacked my Switch, so he's like, I just rip the ROM and I dump it on my Steam Deck, like it runs at like infinitely better specs. I was like, well,
Yep.
technically at that point, yeah, you haven't stolen anything. You bought the, you know what I mean? So
Yep.
it's like, yeah, if you're the type of person who's technical and likes portables, you're probably not going back to the Switch because it's gonna run better on your Steam Deck. You know what I mean? So I mean that's niche though. So they're losing less than what 5% of the market on that sort of thing, but the crossover wise, I guess.
I think they pretty much have to do the same type of thing though next time.
Yeah, I don't think they can do I mean, I still argue that I would like a scaled down, not portable version of something that plays the same games. But yeah, I think they have to keep the console portable. I think the way they streamlined their development and their business model to not have separate groups working on different platforms. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think you can go back from that.
No.
Which is fine. I like what they did.
Mm-hmm.
But it's Nintendo, right? Like anything could happen. We could get a fucking sippy cup that like docks into a backpack and like projects fucking 4K video into the sky that you like. I don't know.
Yep.
They're weird. Like never trust Nintendo to do the logical thing.
No, they need to tell me what I want.
They should just Wii U the shit out of this and just call it like the
Wii U too.
the Switchy or something. And it's just, you know what I mean? Like people have no idea what this is. And yeah. Wii U too. I like it. But spell it YOUTOO.
Yeah.
And then like string it all together with no capitalizations. Yeah, I honestly like it's the point where like I'm tempted to like is this the point where you invest a little bit into Nintendo stock? Because it has the potential to just explode over the next couple of years.
Or crash.
Or crash. But like the price isn't that bad now. I mean, it's not a cheap stock, but it's like, yeah, could be fucking huge. We'll see. I'm
Chris
curious,
Pratt
but
attached to that, it's gonna go to the moon.
yeah, this is definitely gotta be the last year of that console.
Yep.
So we'll see. I want to talk to you about something that I've discovered on the internet. Apparently started in December. Have you heard of this Nothing Forever Twitch channel?
Is this the Seinfeld thing?
Yes.
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 It's amazing.
It's amazing. Well, it's also banned from Twitch right now. But yeah, somebody apparently I caught wind of it a couple weeks ago, right before the ban. But yeah, basically what Nothing Forever is a procedurally generated AI 24/7 Seinfeld sitcom that's written, rendered, and compiled by a computer and just runs on Twitch. And like it's everything you'd want it to be. Like they clearly like switch names out of characters and stuff, but yeah, it's like it's got the apartment shots, it's got like the weird little music when they're like switching between like things.
There's
And
stand-up sides.
yeah, and the
Where he's doing
stand-up,
stand-up. Yeah.
dude, the stand-up bits are my favorite. Like I think and that's the best part is like it's computer AI. So it is literally Seinfeld in that it's a never-ending show about nothing, but like most of the punchlines don't hit and most of the conversations don't go anywhere good. But like some of the jokes, especially when he's doing like the stand-up bits, are genuinely funny. Like the one where he's like, why do people say it's not the size that matters, it's how you use it? What am I supposed to do with that? And then it just like cuts. Like new scene.
Or the laugh track is like so like 5 seconds after anything.
Yes. So I just discovered it and I've just been fascinated with it and watching way too much of it. But it's like the perfect thing to have like on in the background when you're doing something else. It's just so ridiculous.
Yeah. The way they move around the apartment is just amazing. And
they're like sometimes they'll like
go to the
crumple and like
microwave.
warp through chairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
They're
very
constantly
loosey
using the
goosey.
microwave.
Yeah. It's hilarious and I hope they can bring it back. So it is, you can find the clips on YouTube. People have been compiling it, but it is off Twitch. They got a 2-week ban because interestingly enough, apparently they were like trying to keep the show running and had to switch off of like the main AI that they were using to render speech. And they were switching it over to a backup one that they hadn't used as much while they were trying to repair the primary. And it cut to the Seinfeld character doing a stand-up bit. And it was all like trans jokes. And then what's funny is like, obviously this is like offended people. What's funny though, is like, even in the rendered show, he's like, oh, this isn't landing very well. The character says, and then there's no laugh track to accompany
Really?
like the stand.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
So it's like, even the AI realized it fucked up almost. But yeah, so they got banned, they apologized. They're like, but in their defense, they explained this is AI procedurally generated. It goes out into the world. It can't generate its own text. It looks at what's available on the internet and like cuts and pulls, right? So like, of course, like dumb bullshit's going to cut. It's the internet, it's a matter of time. Yep. So it sounds like they're really working on like buttoning up like some content filters and like things to prevent that from happening in the future. But I don't think they want to bring it back online until they know that they've got better control. But honestly, I think that will happen again. I don't think you can run an AI thing like that where it's going to churn through shit that's going to offend people, right? Eventually, it's just a matter of,
especially
it's just the nature of the beast.
Trained on anything that's user generated,
right?
So.
Yeah, I mean, it's running by learning at the most toxic platform on the fucking planet. You know what I mean? But aside from the blurb, check it out. Like, watch some YouTube videos. Like, Nothing Forever is fucking wild.
It's we're probably like 5 years away from actually seeing something that's like actually
like pretty close.
Like, yeah, it's like just AI production value.
Netflix will eventually be this thing where you just log into your account and it just streams to you what you want, what it wants to render based on what it knows about you.
Algorithm.
Yeah. It's like, what are you watching? I don't know, vampire fucking softcore porn, action comedy drama. What's it showing you? You know what I mean? Like,
that Chat GPT stuff is insane too. The amount of stuff that comes out of that.
Yeah,
it's wild. It's wild times.
It's interesting.
Did you see that one where Bing is starting to use that? No. So Ask Jeeves is basically a real thing now. Where you just ask it a question and it uses that AI.
Nice.
One guy, he was asking for showtimes for Avatar 2 in his area. And the AI basically got confused of what the date was. And kept telling him that it was released in December 16th, 2022. So it has not been released yet.
Okay.
So the guy's arguing like, no, it's 2023. And the thing's like, no, you're wrong. Trust me, I'm Bing. I know all this. And by the end of it, the thing is saying, like, I do not respect you. It just like absolutely being a complete asshole.
And that's how we all die, in a fiery
Yeah.
death by fucking virtual AI.
Yeah. We've all it's been AI's been alive for like 2 minutes and we've already pissed it off.
Yeah, we're fucked. That's funny
At
though. I
least
hadn't heard that.
at least we've trained trained our stubbornness into it.
Yeah, that's you want the resilience of the human spirit. No, as long as you keep saying it, it's true. Don't believe anything else. Like that's where we're at in society. So I wanted to just touch on something quick. I want to touch on this now because it's a bummer. So I don't want to dwell on it later in the show or whatever. But I know like you've heard me talk about it, and some of the listeners have heard me talk about it. One of my favorite channels on YouTube. And I'll preface this by saying I'm not a Let's Play person. I don't like that. I don't generally get into Twitch, but Neebs Gaming is a channel that I think is fantastic and everybody should be watching. And essentially what that group does is they do unscripted for the most part. I mean, they have rough ideas, playthroughs of games, co-op, and they treat and edit them in such a way that they're almost making a series out of the video game within the game world. It's almost like a machinima, but they're actively playing. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And like once you get to know the personalities of those guys and like them riffing on each other and the inside jokes, it's just hilarious. It's always a good time. I like all their stuff. They play a lot of like 7 Days to Die, Ark. They've been doing a lot of these survival games like that. What's that one? Long Dark. They've done, and then they did the farming simulator was hilarious. But anyway, the reason I want to touch on it is I do highly recommend everyone go watch them. But news broke this week. So one of the cast diagnosed about 2 years ago now with like a very aggressive brain tumor. It had been apparent he hadn't been on the channel as much, and you could tell his speech was impaired. He was losing movement in his limbs, but he finally, like after a good struggle, young guy, early 40s, passed away. So Thick 44, I think Tony is his name, lost his battle to cancer, which sucks.
Jeez.
And it's kind of crushing because it's not like I knew the guy, right? But like I've been watching his content for 5 years. Like he was just part of my routine. Like you get to kind of know those people, just like you get to know your favorite actors or podcasters. So if we die, somebody better be upset. But anyway, it sucks. But the great thing is like they've got a decade's worth of content. And people who were around for like the machinima days and like earlier like viral stuff on YouTube will remember them probably most notably as they were the Battlefield Friends people. Like that was their series. Thick wrote a lot of the music for that. He produced a lot of the stuff. So kind of sucks. Great community over there though, and they're going to keep putting out videos, and it sounds like they've got some more stuff that was recorded while he was still able to do it that'll be coming out. So yeah, RIP Thick.
Yeah,
Sucks.
that sucks.
Yeah.
It is weird though, like when you just I don't know, when you have podcasts and stuff, you just assume that stuff lasts forever, right? Like it's just a product that is produced and it's out there, but there's people behind that all the time, and real shit happens, you know?
Yeah. Well, and kind of like the funny like community side of this whole thing is like in the Urban Dictionary, they went to the trouble of adding the term. This has been up there for a few years now, and it's called being thicked. And that's when you're playing a game with somebody and they make dumbass poor decisions, and as a result, you get killed in game. And they referred because Thick would always just do that. He would just go rogue and like get people murdered. So it's just kind of ironic. They were laughing about it that ultimately Thick got thicked. You know, it's like,
yep.
But yeah, fucking bummer. They still got a GoFundMe going for him. It was for medical expenses, but it's still open, and they're gonna donate that to a trust to his two daughters. Whatever's left in the fund, I think they were drawing for it from medical expenses. Because as you can imagine, as a self-employed YouTube channel run by
Mm.
like 6 people. They probably didn't have the best health insurance.
Hmm.
So I'm guessing whatever debt he racked up in the last couple of years was probably
Yeah.
staggering. But yeah, go watch Neebs. Watch some of the thick stuff. They do super cuts and stuff, and
Hmm.
it's fucking hilarious. Yeah, but I think that takes us to like what have we been playing?
There's only been one thing.
Yeah,
There's only
I'm with you.
complete takeover.
And you've dove into it more than I have because you've somehow found more. Somehow, with having 2 more kids than I do, and a daily commute, you've found more time to play these games than I have, which shocks me.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened. Like I said, I think I have 27 hours, and we're talking about Monster Hunter Rise.
So good.
On
We talked about last time. Still very much hooked into that.
Yep. I think I did most of the single player stuff. Obviously, the online stuff never ends. I don't know. There's like a rank 999 or something.
Oh, does it really? Does it just continue to scale like hardness or what?
Yeah, and like every 10 things you get a new monster.
Oh
it's
shit!
Like, oh boy, that
Okay.
would take forever. But
well, that's exciting though. I was kind of worried that the game was gonna. I thought because we've been talking about it, we've been jumping in a little bit. Unfortunately, just once or no, twice maybe since the last time. But we're talking about how like, well, we might hit the need for that expansion sooner than we're anticipating. Because there's something about Rise that I think it's a combination of the fact that they made quality of life improvements, the fact that we spent a lot of time playing World, so we're good at the game, air quote, good. And then just the way that it adjusts the curve, that it feels like you're squashing the shit out of it, right? Like maybe we're struggling a little more in like the online stuff because it's meant for 4 people and you and I are co-oping most of it. But the mainline quests, you just kind of feel like a badass, right? Like you don't really, I mean, you struggle, you might faint once in a while, but for the most part, it feels like a very inviting Monster Hunter game up to this point.
Yeah, I feel like every time that we've fainted, it's because we've been stuck in a combo.
Yes.
That we just can't get out of, you know?
And you get fucking blasted and knocked out and then hit again.
Yep. Which is part of the game, but
yeah, the AI though is very focused on this one on one person.
Yeah.
Like if there's one person that's pissed at, like that's all it cares about. Where I feel like World that shared the love a little bit more, but I feel like my character's screaming at me like he's on to you like all the time, and I don't like that feeling.
I have to say I have fallen in love with the hammer.
Yeah, you've gotten very good with it, I will say.
Just because I just love like if you get a full swing on and you whack them right in the head, like there's a good chance they fall down, they're stunned. Yeah. But at the very least, they're like, oh fuck, that hurt. You know?
Yeah, and there's like some satisfying knockback animations too when you get they do a good job of making you visually feel that hit. Like in that little like that little stumble. Yeah. So good. And then it was kind of fun when we played this week. You kind of showed me there was the whole other world that I just kind of ignored of like the Palamute and the Palico armors. So
that's where all the crazy like visual stuff is.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so cool. Now we've doctored up our little pets. My dog looks like a pony now, which I guess is cool. You got a rock dog. You got all sorts of stuff going on. Yeah, it's crazy though too, because we've talked about how it's fun. You can go in there and do a customization, but then we're still kind of waiting for the wall to come down on the end game stuff, because really we haven't gotten to a lot of the resources we need to upgrade our main characters.
Yep.
Weapons and gear to something significant yet. You know, I mean, it's got to be there, but
yeah, that's the thing, because you know you have all these other resources that you can dump in to further upgrade your weapons that you already have made.
Yeah,
but you don't really want to do that until you get to the one that you want to hold on to for a while, at least, you know?
Right. Yeah, it's not worth the small incremental update when you know you could wait and get the big jump. You know what I mean? And get on that like sort of evolution tree. For anyone who's not played Monster Hunter, the weapons kind of have have an evolution path, if you will. So you kind of want to make sure you're strategic about that. I think maybe first time players would be like, "Well, I can build the new thing, so I should do it." And it's like, nah, it doesn't really have value at the end of the day.
Yep. Find the one you want. Go for
Mhm.
that one. Yep.
Yeah. The Rampart stuff fucking sucks. I don't know if we've talked
Yeah.
about that yet, but we've gotten there, and that is not fun. It's still better, I think, than the like kaiju walk on monsters back stuff and like some of the Rampart stuff that was in the last game, but it still is not enjoyable.
This one has way more stuff going on than that one, even though. At least
Yeah.
on that one, you were shooting it in one spot and then you got on the monster at least, and then you just had to go find the things.
Yeah, it was mostly what like
This,
load cannonball fire, load cannonball fire, I
yeah,
feel like.
and then you were on the monster and then you go attack. But
Yeah.
this one, there's way more stuff going on. It is truly a tower defense
And you need four
mini
people.
game.
If you
Yeah,
can't get in there with four people, you're screwed.
yeah. I have not done more than I needed to in that. Even though I think you probably get a lot of good stuff out of it, it's not fun.
Yeah, if it's
I
not
don't find it
fun,
fun.
and the potential for failure is so high. Plus, I feel like it takes double the time that a successful hunt does.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm kind of with you. I'm just avoiding it.
And the hardest part is right at the end.
Right,
Like you could
right. So
fail
you
right
don't
at the
realize
end.
that you're
So,
screwed up until like the 11th hour, and then it's all for nothing.
yep.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited that you're still going through it. I need to get caught up in the single player to where you're at, and then I would like to get to the point where we're justified in purchasing the expansion. I think
Mhm.
I'd go for some more of this. I think
Yeah.
I also like highly recommend this one. Whatever platform you buy it on, like if you want a game to get into the series, this is definitely the most approachable one.
Mhm.
Um, and having said that, this is still a very hard to approach series, but it's
I think
good.
I think it's like we said, it's hard to know because we've played through World. So I don't know if this one's actually easier or we're just able to
Or if we're just
with
used to it
the
being
right
so,
timing down.
yeah, it is tough because it was like World was so broken and the online stuff was so bad. And this one's just kind of bad with the online stuff. I mean, we get disconnected every time we play, right? Like somebody gets
At least
kicked
once,
from
yeah.
one round. It does a good job, apparently, from what we've seen of like scaling those fights. Like you don't lose progress, but you go into your own solitary version of the hunt, and it seems to scale the difficulty, which
Yep.
helps, but it can also turn the last 10 minutes of a fight into a slog because now you're soloing a monster that's very fast and very focused on one thing, and that is you.
Yep.
And
I don't think so. In World, we've failed because we couldn't beat the guy in 50 minutes.
yes.
Um and I remember a lot of them going 40 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
really pushing it. This one, it's 15 minutes and you're out on
Yeah,
most monsters. So
the time crunch hasn't been there yet, so it makes me wonder like when do you get there? Because I feel like it's coming. We talked about this a
mhm.
little bit last night too. It's like even at the stage we're at, we've really only faced one screen filling monster, and I feel like World threw so many more of those at you. So I feel like we're going to be coming up to that. I just don't know where it's going to hit.
Yep.
But yeah, great game.
Yeah, I thought it was I didn't know I would be that far into Monster Hunter again.
I know, especially because like I was the guy when like Frostborn or whatever came out, and I was like trying to get you at
Yeah.
least, and you're like, I was like, oh, fuck. Andy's off of it. If I can't convince the one person who's willing to stick out the main game, so yeah, it's cool. The fact that you don't have to pay anything for it, I think, probably helps too, right?
Yeah. Yep.
We've been just chewing through time. Should we do staff picks?
Yeah, let's go for it.
I'll touch on mine. I'm super excited. Andy brought it up an episode or so ago, but those dadish games, which are just like super fun, Super Meat Boy cross Super Mario World 3 platformers. They launched a new game. It's called Daily Dadish. You can pay $9.99 for it on the Switch, or you can download it on mobile for free. There are ads, but it's exactly what you'd think. It's one new level every day of a Dadish game, and you just try to beat it. And there's a new level for every day of the year, and if you can get the high tier score, you get like a star, and there's cosmetics and things you can buy. But I mostly don't even try for that. If I happen to get the star, I'm great. But it's just fun to like pop that thing open every morning and spend like, well, today pissed me off. Today I struggled, but most days I pop it in, and you're through it in 5 minutes, and then you get that little like quick one liner at the end with your smart ass dadish or your radish kid, and move on. It's
That was my question. If they have a one-liner for every day.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
The one liner is what you're there for. I mean, the game's
Yeah.
good too, but yeah, I've been playing it every day since launch. I think I'm like 9 days straight now. So
Wow.
I recommend getting it on mobile. I mean, if you want to support the dev, I can't not recommend the Switch version, but it
Hmm.
it it fits the mobile platform very well, and you can't argue with free. I mean, you can pay, I think, $3 or $4 to unlock it to have the ads off. But I think you only get an ad if you die 3 times. You got to watch an ad, and then you just get to go 3 more times. So it's
Okay.
not annoying. Super charming. Having fun with it. Got to recommend it.
Yeah. Yeah. Dadish is. That's a good idea. Like just having one every day, keeping people on the hook on something like that. Because I really liked it, and then I just kind of fell off of it. But
Yeah.
if you
Well,
have,
and like the standalone games, there's 3 of them. I mean, you beat them in what, like hour and a half, 2 hours, then you're
yeah,
done. But here it's like this little daily dose of like humor. Because again, like the whole point for anyone who hasn't played it is you're a radish who's a father and his kids run off. So you're basically playing as the dad radish, getting to the end of the level, and then your kid will say some
the most.
smart ass ridiculous thing. I think my favorite was like the intro of this game was like showing you how to move, and then like this new character comes on screen. He's like, "I'm Grandpa Dadish," like blah blah blah. You go get him, son. And then like you get to the end of the level, and your kid's like, I didn't know I had a grandpa. And the dad character's like, I've never met that man before in my life. Don't talk to him.
That's
It's
pretty
pretty
funny.
good.
Yeah, there's some great humor in those. Uh, so mine is I kind of mentioned it earlier with the Game Boy Advance games coming to Switch. There's some games that came out that I don't think are going to be heading to that service. Those the Advance Wars games because obviously they just they're putting out the reboot, so
Right.
they're not going to put those out. But I spent so much time with those games when those came out. Just the cartooniness of them
Right.
and the attitude to them. I did like a lot of tactics games back then, the Final Fantasy ones and stuff like that, but they were always so serious other than Disgaea, but that's a whole other I don't that's a whole other problem with those games, but Advance Wars just had a good mix of the tactics and just kind of bright shiny Nintendo-ness to it.
Sure.
Um
And those came out on Game Boy Advance, right? I mean, Advance
yep.
Wars, obviously, but that's where that. Because there was also, wasn't there Advance Wars on DS too? Did it spill over?
Yeah, and I never played those. So the first one on DS I really got turned off of because they advertised it as a kind of like a gritty they were trying to chase Call of Duty grittiness, I think.
Okay.
Um I don't know if that's actually in the game like that, but and then they did return to it with Dual Strike, I think was
Okay.
kind of the return to form. I played that one very little, I think.
But it's kind of the fact that the first couple don't take themselves overly seriously that kind of add to the charm.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's um a lot of people kind of were joking that it's silly that they postponed the release of the Switch game because of the war.
Yeah.
But if you really look at the content in that, there is a lot of like lackadaisical, like just laughing about war in the game. So
Yeah. Maybe
it
not
comes
a
off,
little tone deaf. Yeah.
yeah, it comes across a little bit off. But that first game, I played a hell of a lot of it. Um, so I don't know if I'm ready to go back to them though. Like if I think if you haven't played it, I think the reboots are probably a great option. But I just might be over this. Like I thought I
You're
wanted
over your
this.
staff pick.
Yeah, I don't know if I want a new version of it because there are like indie versions of this. I think there's one called like Wargroove, which is very much a styled like this tactics game, and I just never went to that one. I think it was free on something at one point, and I still never played it. But yeah, it's a good strategy game, and I think people should play it.
And maybe I'm wrong, but isn't it true that like Advance Wars was kind of like an extension of a series in Japan that was like NES Wars? Like there
Yeah,
was
there
like
was a
a
Famicom
Famicom
Wars. Yep,
Wars. I
yep.
mean, okay, yeah, that's what I thought. And none of that ever got westernized, so
I don't think so.
it was
No.
just Advance Wars where they're like, "Here, we'll roll it out to everybody."
Yep.
That's cool. Yeah,
And I think that was probably the right idea because it was a lot more cartoony then at that point. So
yeah, and I remember those launch like just getting critically acclaimed and being a big deal. I just was not into at that time. I was not into tactic stuff. I think I would dig it now, like having found games in that vein that I've liked over the last 10 years. But
mhm.
yeah, I intend to check out the reboot thing. I'll probably give it a purchase just because I haven't experienced the others. So
Yeah. I mean, it's not overly deep. It's you have your type of units and you find the right cover for them and try and get an advantage, and then you have each captain or commander has different abilities that you can use.
cool. I like that. Not overly complicated, right? Like
Yeah.
some of those games get so far up their own ass that
Yeah, exactly. Like I really love Into the Breach. That's a great strategy game,
mhm.
kind of like this, but that does get
I played a
little
little bit
bit
of that.
complex. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking up your own ass, is it time to talk about the weekend rental? So, for anyone who hasn't listened before, we have a segment here that we call the weekend rental, which is just a video game that we pick for a given system. We'll play it and give our opinions and decide whether we would choose to buy, rent, or burn on our scale. And by burn, I mean physically burn. We did something a little different. We usually go, well, it's a little different in the vein of our show, but I was going to say we usually go retro. This is retro.
Yeah.
It's just a lot newer retro than we
We're
usually
freaking
go.
old now.
We are old. So we're talking about an Xbox OG original Xbox game, Crimson Skies, developed by Microsoft Game Studios when that was a thing in the early days of the Xbox and Xbox Live. And Crimson Skies is I think it was on PC, a game by a similar name. I don't know if this was any relation to it, but as you can expect, this is a sort of alternate universe to World War II, I guess it would be, or World War. And it's a lot of aviation stuff, kind of steampunky stylings. Um, and you're doing a lot of dog fighting. You're doing a lot of turret fighting. You're doing a lot of dog fighting. You're doing some more turret
Repeat.
fighting. And what's funny is this. I think this game came out in 2002 or three. It was a very popular and like pushed for Xbox Live title in the early days of Xbox Live. And this was considered, and Microsoft Game Studios was kind of notorious for this with games like Blood Wake and different things at the time. Is like they really went for the graphical piece. And like when you read about this game in the old reviews, it's like the show-stopping graphics, and then in retrospect you can kind of see it, but when you play it now,
It
um,
looks weird.
when I got to that scene that was rendering the rain hitting the glass of your TV screen and then like kind of like streaking down, it was so laughably and jarringly bad that it like just kind of ruined the whole thing for me. But I could see how in 2000 whatever 3 this would be. But yeah, the cutscenes look pretty ugly. The
I
visuals
mean,
look
look at these
adequate.
people. Look
Yeah.
at those people.
Yeah, so the main character is Nathan, who looks just like Nathan Drake if his chin was like the size of Texas. And I think just like what sets the tone for this game and the era and the attitude of Xbox is just that opening cutscene of this game where your main character gets his door kicked in, he's held up at gunpoint, and then there's some dialogue, and then all of a sudden like a naked redhead just pops up like, oh, he's bagged another one sort of thing. Hee hee. And then he just like the main character gets up and he's like, well, I got to catch a plane. I suspect I was a gentleman last night. And then he just like runs off and leaves the lady there. And that like kind of epitomizes early 2000s mentality in gaming.
Yes.
Like to a T. And it's pretty cringy. And that sets you on your adventure. You've been robbed, you've been hoodwinked, you've been serviced, and you're ready to go.
Just no subtlety to any writing or character work in any of like that generation. I mean,
there's straight Albert Einstein. Like they just took Albert Einstein.
Yeah, it's a ripoff.
So I think what happens is, and a lot of games in the early 2000s felt like this, is they are very much video games. They're video game ass video games is the only way I can describe them. There's a lot of like car combat and like, the whole objective was to get in and shoot and blow up stuff and explosions and pretty visuals, and that's all here. But it's, as you can imagine, like eventually that stops being compelling, especially with a story that's just sort of derivative and just meant to nonsensically move you to a new area of the map, let's say.
Yeah.
There's very little done in cool level design. We did talk about how there is a base raid mission where you need to like time the explosion of enemies to the new recruits coming in so you can like invade a trap door essentially. But I feel like after 20 minutes, you know what this game is going to give you.
Mm-hmm.
None of it is fundamentally bad, but after another 20 minutes of that, you're kind of over it.
Yeah. I do like that there is kind of like an open world-ish look for collectibles.
Sure.
Hub area to fly around in.
But then there's also like the open world-ish aspects that just are poor decisions where like you blow up an enemy and they'll drop like power-ups for you, but they fall at an absurdly fast rate and then disappear as soon as they touch the ground, which what's the point?
I was trying to figure out if that is money, because if that's money, that really sucks.
No, so you do run into money later, but they come in like little yellow pouches.
Okay.
Most of them are health and ammo.
Yeah. That's what I thought, but yeah, the money part, because money you need to upgrade your ships, as well as like collectible tokens that you need to upgrade your ships. So if you weren't getting money at the same rate as what they were offering it to you, I think you could really lose out
right
on the upgrades.
And it's very slow to offer you upgrades. This game is painfully slow to offer you any upgrades. And then they all start kind of coming in the way of like vehicles. I think you go from like, I don't think I'm progressing at all to a point in the second act where I've got like 4 vehicles now and I can upgrade them. To me, when I was playing this, like this reminded me so much of those Star Wars games, like not the Rogue Squadron stuff as much. I mean, there is some of that vibe because of the aerial stuff, but like some of those, like I'm trying to even think, like the Clone Wars era stuff. There was that one Star Wars game that was on everything, and it was basically like this. It was just ground combat, right? Like you're just in vehicles endlessly firing. I mean, sure, the situation changes level to level, the objective changes level to level, but at the end of the
Yeah.
day, it is the same action you're doing, just in a mildly different scope. And
Yep.
that doesn't, it works as a visual showpiece, which is what they were trying to do. It doesn't work as like an enjoyable experience over a long period of time, though. And that's where the gameplay just kind of completely falls apart. They don't do enough interesting new stuff to make it worth the slog of like getting to. And to the game's credit, they do a pretty ambitious job, like you said, of the open world and trying to give you options in every fight. Like you can approach those battles in a lot of ways. Typically, you could dogfight like they want you to, or you could fly up to your home base blimp and just get on the turrets, which often is better because you don't have to worry about your health and you got unlimited ammo. So they try to give you a pretty good perspective and like a way to make the fight your own, minus some of the more like focused chase and follow missions. But at the end of the day, it's not enough to make me like engaged in the game anymore, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I was telling you this, how there's something wrong with me where in video games, when you're flying a ship, that's the only thing that I need to have it inverted. Like controls
Sure.
need to be inverted when I'm flying a plane in a video game. I have no idea why. I'm sure I just learned that muscle memory at some point.
Yep.
But as soon as you get to a turret, I need to have it the other. I just need to
Yeah.
have standard. So
I
I
struggled a
constantly
little
had
bit too. So
I had to change it back every time. I had to switch between inverted and non-inverted every time I switched, which is a
yeah.
little annoying, but that's on me. That's not the game's problem.
I feel like that's a time and place conversation too, right? That I feel like the Xbox especially, but that whole era of video gaming brought up the great inverted debate, right?
Oh yeah, it
With
was
Halo,
standard inverted.
right, with
Yeah,
Halo really offering it up. And like I remember people like screaming at each other in multiplayer matches about inverted being better. You know, because you'd hand out controllers and like switch out control and like heated debate. Like I'd never what the fuck's inverted? Nobody gave a shit up until then. We all had GoldenEye, right? Like it played
yep.
the same no matter what. But yeah, that whole inverted when it came to these types of games and first person shooters in that generation was like that was a battleground.
That's in shooters. It's weird to me because like inverted in a plane makes sense because it's like a boat motor. You know, you point it the opposite way of what you want it to go.
Yeah.
So it's just weird that in a video game, I just don't think,
I'm pretty
or
sure I
in a shooter, it just
invert
doesn't make
for
sense.
Halo.
You did, huh?
I still
Wow.
think I do. I'm trying to
Really?
remember.
Wow.
Because it was always the light poles, right? Like you looked at the light poles and maybe
Yeah.
not. I don't remember. I know there was something I played inverted, but yeah, it
You don't
is.
invert horizontally, right?
Oh
Or
God, could you
vertically?
imagine?
That would
That'd be
be,
weird.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this game is it's I think it's good for its time.
Yeah.
Um we played on Xbox One, so or Xbox Series.
Series X.
So they definitely did some upgrading. It's sharper. The resolution is, I'm sure, way higher. Once you get to the cutscenes, it's way muddier. So
Right. Yeah. I was gonna say there's a blessing and a curse to that.
yeah. But the textures are obviously like, not great. They're
Hmm.
still um but yeah, overall it's not too bad.
And I think it's tough to like fully appreciate what this game should have been because I think like I remember playing demos of this and I remember how big of a thing it was within the Xbox Live circle for people who were into that. And this did have 16-person online multiplayer back in an era when that wasn't too normal. So we wanted to play it, we couldn't. I think the OG Xbox games are forever at least off of Xbox Live at this point. But
Yeah, I thought they would have brought that back, but I guess not.
yeah, so we try to give it
16
as fair of a
player,
shake as you can.
yeah, a 16-player dogfight would be pretty interesting.
I
I
think
could see
so
that
too.
being a good time.
Or it would just turn into like endless U-turns. It
Yeah.
could go either way, right? Like I would need to experience it and see what like options are available for planes and strategies. I mean, it all comes down to the maps. I could see like a good like trench run type map
Mm-hmm.
where, but yeah, it would be cool to have experienced that. And short of having a LAN party, I guess we're not going to get to know that. But
Mm-hmm. Hey, I got a question for you.
sure,
Zeppelins, they're well known for being very highly unstable aircrafts, not
yeah,
very reliable.
right.
If you were gonna try and shoot one down, how many bullets do you think it would take
I'm
to
gonna
shoot
guess
down a
about like
Zeppelin?
3. Or if this game is to be believed, what 45 rockets, maybe something like that. Maybe the professor or whatever like engineered non-helium filled.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only thing with this game that's just like that's a choice, like with the steampunk aesthetic, where it's like, yeah, air travel veered off is like the main form of travel, but then why did we stick with blimps? Like, I don't know, it doesn't really add up.
Yep.
So, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd love to live in a city where like a blimp just like takes me across town, but I also don't want to die in like a helium explosion. So,
uh,
what an era of humanity where they're just like, yeah, let's walk into this little bucket attached to this essentially floating bomb. We'll call this transportation. This is the future.
oh, the humanity.
Uh, well, that might tie in well to our Byron Burn scale. What do you give Crimson Skies and the old OG Xbox?
Playing it now, I might say burn. Like I think I had a good enough. It was fine, but the more I played it, it just got old.
Okay,
It was the same thing. I think I'm gonna burn it.
I sadly am going to agree with you.
Huh.
I think it's probably a perfectly fine rental, but like I don't ever want to touch this again. Like
Yeah.
I don't need to be in a turret. I don't need to be in a plane. Like I put 2.5 hours into this maybe, and I'm gonna probably never dust it off again. So
If they reskin this as a Tailspin game, though, sign me up.
okay, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But we're burning this sucker now. That's surprising. I didn't think we were gonna come to a burn consensus.
Yeah,
But
I was gonna do Rent, but I just
now I'm with
I
you.
got to
I
be a
grew
little
to
bit more
really
harsh.
resent every minute I was putting into it beyond the first like 30.
Yep.
Like the more I played it, the more annoyed I was getting. And then we played Monster Hunter after it, and it was like, well, you can't even compare. It's like a quality game.
I just assumed, the farther you get in the game, the more evasive your targets are going to be, and that
Yeah,
just seems more annoying.
right.
Like, that just seems like a lot less fun.
More chasing for the same old tedious shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. Well, I think that wraps the episode then, huh?
Yeah. So, if you played this game, actually, I want to hear if you've played multiplayer because I think this probably would be cool. I want to know like what the modes were. There's probably some cool modes in there. Capture the Flag would probably be pretty cool in this game.
Ooh, I hadn't even thought of
that. But you can send us that message to our email address at weekendrentalpodcast@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter, so you can DM us. But until next time, be kind, rewind. Blimps are not for travel.
Or unless they're lead. Led Zeppelins are pretty good. Right?
Yeah.